Art, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
I am doing great, Maria. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure to speak with you and your audience.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, listen, what's interesting for me is that because I listened to your podcast and I said to you, I love your voice. And you said something very interesting to me. Tell me what you said to me just before we started recording, because I think it's very relevant to what we're going to be talking about.
Well, when I went to college, I started out as a journalism broadcast major and wanted to go into broadcasting. And actually, all 4 years of college, I worked as a DJ and I was playing wedding receptions and parties. So while everybody else was out partying on the weekend, I was running parties and I played at over 400 wedding receptions. So that was great training for becoming a speaker and a trainer. But I actually switched my major to marketing after a year because I realized that broadcasters really didn't make as much money as I wanted to make. So, but I'm still behind the microphone quite a bit.
Absolutely. But actually, what you said to me is that you realize that people who can sell make more money than broadcasters, salespeople. And I think it's really important. I think personally, I think everybody should know how to sell. Do you agree with that?
Well, actually, everybody is a born salesperson, if you think about it, because who are the greatest salespeople in the world? Kids, right? What happens is that some people just don't make it their chosen profession, but everybody sells every day. When you look at what sales really is, it's really getting somebody to accept your ideas and it's helping them. My definition of sales is helping people buy. And as speakers, that's what we're doing. We're helping them buy a result, not a speech or a program.
I like that, helping people buy. I think that's really, really positive. Brilliant. So you've been doing this for a little over 30 years, I believe. And tell me, what do you think has changed when it comes to selling, or has nothing really changed?
Well, what's changed, of course, has been the technology and the environment in which we're working. But I mean, the human brain has not changed in tens of thousands of years, right? People still do things for the basic motivators. And what's interesting is that lazy salespeople are always looking for the next shiny object, whether that be social selling, whatever that is, because I thought all selling was social, or the newest technology or computer program or app or email subject line or whatever it is. But bottom line, sales is at its core humans talking to humans. And that has not changed. And I've actually been in business, I guess, a lot over 30 years, probably about 38 years now. And I know people are thinking he must have started when he was 12. But
They are. They're thinking that. If they're watching the
yeah,
video, yes,
I know,
absolutely.
yeah, that never works. But but even back in the day, the goal was to have a conversation. And that still is the goal today. It's interesting when I'm giving programs, I'll hold up my cell phone and say, you know, folks, you can actually talk on these things too. Comes as a shock to some people.
That's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. I actually preferred the phones in the old days when that's all they did. They just were used for phoning. But anyway, so listen, this could probably take up the rest of the entire discussion, but I'm going to risk it. What would you say are the biggest mistakes speakers make when it comes to prospecting?
Well, having been in the speaking business for, again, the better part of over 35 years, and also having trained speakers and have spoken at an SA and done workshops, and I'm very familiar, obviously, with selling speaking, having sold, again, millions of dollars worth of my own speaking. One of the biggest mistakes I see is when speakers will call up a prospect and they'll say, I'm a speaker. Do you hire speakers? I have programs on this, this, and this. Well, here's a news flash. People don't hire speakers, okay? People want a result. And if we go in with, I'm a speaker, here's a program, they're not excited about that. Now they're putting you in the same category as every other speaker who's saying the same thing. And then they'll say things like, well, can I send you my video and my one sheet and my package of materials or my book? And they'll say, yeah, of course, go ahead and send it. Yeah, like I'm going to read it, right? Or look at it. And then they wonder why they're not getting booked. And I understand that unless somebody is a sales speaker, they're probably inherently not a salesperson by trade, but yet we have to change that mindset because we are all salespeople, and I don't care whatever it is that you speak on. Get out of the mindset that I'm trying to sell or I'm trying to be pushy. What you're trying to do is you're trying to help a client get the result that you deliver, whatever that result is. So that, I would say, is the number one mistake, trying to sell speaking and positioning themselves as a speaker.
And it's interesting you cite that one, because when I was running my speaker bureau, that was actually what, speakers would do. They say, I'm a speaker, I speak on this, can I join your roster? And it's like, it gets lost amongst all the other people saying exactly the same thing. Sort of, you have to be saying something different. So let's give an example then. So you in the introduction, I said that you were a speaker. You said it too, that you're a speaker and a trainer. So what would Art be saying if he was contacting somebody to try and sell himself in?
Well, I have an entire process. My flagship program, my flagship book is called Smart Calling. And what smart calling is really the opposite of cold calling. Cold calling I define as calling up somebody you don't know, who doesn't know you, they're not expecting your call. We really don't know a whole lot about them, and we're giving everybody the same pitch. That's what a cold call is. Nobody likes to get them. Nobody likes to make them. Okay. Smart calling, conversely, is knowing something about the people, the organization, and any situation, any trigger event, anything that's going on in their world that may make them a good prospect for the results that we deliver. So notice this isn't a numbers game, throw it up against the wall. It's very strategic before it's tactical. So the process itself, and this is going to be a longer answer than you were probably looking for, if that's okay.
No, I'm very happy. Carry on.
So what I suggest is the first step in the smart calling process is let's do our research. And today, what you asked before, what has changed? There's more information available to us than at any point in history. And that's also changing every minute because there's still more information available, right? So I can find out a lot about the organization that I'm targeting, the decision maker, whoever it is that I'm going to be talking to. And I'm going to go online. I'm going to do some online research. I'm also going to do some live research, which is called social engineering. I'm going to call into that organization and I want to talk to people. So in my case, of course, I want to talk to sales leaders. So first, I want to talk to the people who would benefit from my training. So I'm calling into the sales department and I'm going to talk to salespeople and ask them questions about, do they do prospecting, which I'm already going to know, by the way, because I'll find that out either through LinkedIn or looking at their recruitment ads, because that will always, they'll always have something in there about we're looking for people who can cold call and prospect and so on. So I already know those things. And then I want to get more qualitative information. So I'll talk to a salesperson, ask them questions. It's amazing what people will tell you if you just ask them. And by the way, spoiler alert here, I'm going to offer some free training at the end here where you don't have to write all this down right now. I'm going to actually give you a video and a template where you can just fill in the blanks and do this. Okay. So you're doing your research. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together my messaging. And my messaging has several key components. I'm going to start out with, and by the way, this could be a voicemail or the live message. They both should be the same. I mean, why would they be different, right? So I am going to start out with, hi Maria, Art Sobczak here, president of Business by Phone. Then I'm going to have my connection piece. This is where I let them know that I know something about them that is going to be related to what's going on in their world or a situation or a problem. So I may say, I understand one of your initiatives here for 2022 is to add more new logos to your customer base, and you're doing that through prospecting. However, some of your salespeople are reluctant to pick up the phone. Now, what I've done there is I've set myself apart from almost every other salesperson who calls because I've said something about you. And now they're leaning in thinking, okay, well, yeah, that's all true. And they might even be thinking, geez, how do you know that? But now at least they're listening. I got your attention. Then I get into my specialty. What I do is I specialize in working with sales teams who have a new business quota, and they're looking for a proven process that their salespeople can implement fairly easily so that they're motivated to pick up the phone. Then I can add another result statement where I'm piling on with some social proof. And then I'll say, many of my clients have noticed an increase of anywhere from 20 to 50% in their calling rates and conversion. And then I'm going to end with an engagement question. And by the way, we're not going to ask for a meeting or a decision at this point. This is where I differ from a lot of other trainers out there. They say the goal of the phone call is to get a meeting. And my feeling is, if I'm already talking to you, why do I want to get off the phone and set up another call, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
If you're leaning in and you're interested, I'm going to keep you on the phone, right? And you're probably going to want to stay on the phone if I've done a good job up to this point. So I have a very subtle question here that asks for a very simple decision. And all I'll say is, what I'd like to do is ask you a couple questions to see if it might be worthwhile for us to speak further. And it's real easy for somebody to say, oh, okay, sure. What do you want to know? So that is the smart calling process condensed into about, 3 minutes.
Yeah, I should double check how long that is, but I think it was about 3 minutes. It's amazing. So I'm going to come back with a couple of points, but first of all, I want to just acknowledge the fact that your book, Smart Calling: How to Eliminate the Fear, Failure and Rejection from Cold Calling, has actually been recognized as one of the 100 best sales books of all time. So if nothing else, go out there and grab a copy on Amazon, because this is like one of the 100 of all time. I think that's amazing. Congratulations on that, by the way, Art.
Well, thank you. That when somebody actually had let me know that, and then I checked it out, and I think it was 16 or 17 on the list, and I was
Wow.
absolutely blown away because I mean, many of my mentors, from some of whom are no longer with us, are on that list, as well as many of my friends who have some awesome books. But I really, it's a testimony to the fact that the material works,
Yeah.
and people are using it.
Yeah.
And I mean, books come and go, but systems and processes that work really withstand the test of time. And it's a conversational process that people like because it's not salesy, it's not cheesy. And I've had so many people who didn't consider themselves salespeople, including speakers, who said, wow, I was scared to death of making prospecting calls, but you really made it so easy. And I also have an entire section on there on how to never experience rejection, because rejection, by the way, is not the experience itself, it's the way we define an experience. So we're always going to get some no's. We're always going to get people say, well, no, it's not a fit. Okay, well, you weren't rejected unless you tell yourself you were.
Absolutely. So let me just come back to some of the great stuff that you did in that masterclass that was 3 minutes. It was amazing. First of all, the fact that you said to research. I think the research point is so important, because then in doing that, you're customizing your message. You're so right. That's so important. And I love the fact that you were completely clear on who books you. You said the sales leaders, and I'm sure there'll be other job titles that you would look for, but you're clear on who books you, and you're also clear on who you help, which may sound really simple, but actually it's so important to get that right. As a speaker, who is going to book you? Who are the people you help, and how do you help them? What is it that you do for them? Rather than saying, I'm a speaker. Go in and say, I work with sales leaders who want to help their sales teams to achieve. And you had beautiful numbers. I love the fact that you had numbers. That was brilliant. I also love the point you made that whether it's a voicemail or whether it's in person, you say the same thing. And I think that's important in writing too, that it's very conversational. You even use the word conversational. I think it's so important that you are you and you have your personality in your communications. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, too many people, when they get on the phone or get on a Zoom call, they put on business voice, corporate voice, right? As opposed to being natural, being conversational. Now, with that being said, what we need to do is we need to bring the energy. And it's interesting because I just interviewed Julie Hansen. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she just wrote a book on how to use video to connect. And a point that she made is that we have to ramp up our energy, like I'm doing right now, a little bit more than we would, even if we're just face to face, because the camera is a lot different than, again, if we are just face to face. And this is not a natural thing for a lot of people. And I say the same thing for being on the phone. We are performers and we need to be on stage. Now, with that being said, we don't want to sound phony, no pun intended, but we do want to be natural. We want to speak like people would speak. And there's so much sales garbage that's been written over the years, like the feel, felt, found technique. I understand how you feel. Many others have felt the same way. But after they found what a great speaker I was, they decided to book me. Now,
Oh my goodness.
nobody talks like that. Come on.
Wow, 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 wow. Brilliant. Love it. So, what happens then? Should a speaker respond when a prospect says, please, will you lower your price?
Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to prevent that from coming up in the first place. And how do we do that? Well, we do a great job in the sales process. And a great job consists of identifying the need, the pain, or the problem that we're going to solve, and then monetizing whatever that pain or that problem is, and getting somebody to agree that, yeah, this is what it's costing us. This is what we would gain if we could solve that problem. This is what it's going to be worth for us. Because so many times, uh, speakers will talk about their program, their speech, and they'll say, this is my fee. By the way, get rid of the word fee. I mean, what do we associate with a fee? A cost, right? An expense, as opposed to an investment. Now, if we've done all these things and we've got somebody nodding their head, and then we present our program, these are the results you're going to get, and then we say the investment's going to be this, and then if somebody is doing their job as a buyer, they're probably going to ask for a better price, right? Can you do any better on price? And the way to respond to that is very confidently say, that is the price.
Fantastic. I'm glad you said that. Really glad you said that, because discounting's not good, is it? A negotiation maybe, but discounting no, right?
Well, yeah, and I've done entire programs actually for speakers on how to deal with the whole price issue. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I mean, for example, depending on your confidence level and what you've discussed up to this point, you could say, well, if you're looking to pay less or invest less, we can talk about a shorter program. We can talk about what you want to take out. Do you want to do that? Now, of course, people are probably going to say, well, no, we want the whole program. Okay, well, the investment is this. And one thing, and this one really takes confidence, and depending on your personality, I'll tell people that, well, actually, I should probably be charging more for it based on the results that people get.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good. I'm happy to say that. I think it's a good one. I like that. I also love the fact that you've said investment, because we do. I mean, I tend to go back to the word fee because of my bureau background, but I do think you're right. Investment is a much better way to talk about it, because they are investing. They're investing in order to get an ROI, aren't they? They're going to get a return on it. So I like that. You're,
One more thing, let me interject this. Here's where price objections occur first in the mind of the speaker or the salesperson. Because when you're quoting your price or your investment, you need to do it with complete confidence. And you want to preface it with everything they're getting. So what you're going to be getting is all my preparation. You're going to be getting the 3-hour workshop. You're going to be getting the workbook materials. You'll be getting the rights to the video. Now, for all of that, your investment is only this amount.
oh, oh, that is so good. That is so good. I love that. Amazing, amazing. So finally, because you talk about your process, and if you have the systems and the processes, it's a lot easier. Do you actually use any software yourself to manage your sales and your speaking business?
Well, I, I'm not a typical salesperson in the sense that I am hitting the phone all day long, primarily because I've been in business for 38 years, and I most of my business comes in the
It's
door.
incoming, absolutely. Yeah.
So as a result of that, I don't have a quote CRM system like Salesforce. I use Infusionsoft to run my business. We do a lot of marketing, and we've got a lot of funnels and webinars running, and so on. There's a lot of great software out there. I'm certainly not an expert in that. So not sure if that's the answer that you were
No,
looking.
that's great, because a lot of people don't really like the software piece, and it's interesting, of course, that the more you do, the more you're known, the more you attract. So that's also really encouraging, and therefore the conversations you're having are certainly never cold if they're if the person's come in, that's a nice warm inquiry that you can then develop. So that makes it a lot easier. Now, you generously have something special for our listeners. Please tell us all about that.
Yes, I will. And actually, can I just back up here
Yeah,
because
of course, of
I
course.
want to give you the $1 million question.
Oh,
Because this has made me probably multiple millions of dollars over the years when I do get an inquiry, and I'm sure many of your listeners get inquiries. As soon as they say, yeah, we're looking for this type of program, or we're having this event, we'd like to talk to you about that. The first question I always ask is, why did you contact me?
yeah, absolutely.
And then let them go, get out of the way. And a quick story here. I had a sales manager call me up, and she was just kind of gruff and to the point and cold. And she said, yeah, I've seen your stuff before, and I've read your book, and we're having this national sales meeting, and we're going to have a presenter there. So I'm just kind of curious, why should I hire you? And she said in that kind of tone of voice. And I said, I don't know, why'd you call me? And she talked for about the next half hour selling me on why she wanted to hire me.
Fantastic. But it is $1 million question, because that the answer you get from your prospects and from your clients is what you really want to be putting in your marketing material, isn't it? Because they will tell you it straight as to what it is that they value. So I love that. Love that question. Thank you.
Yeah. So going back to your other question, yes, I do have something very special for speakers. So I went through my whole smart calling process. I have a template that is a cheat sheet. Not that I don't want you to buy the book, because I make about $1.10 on every one of those. So the template is what I call the cold calling without the cold template, where you can fill in the blanks and actually do what I just did earlier here. And I've also customized a video just for speakers on how to go through that template. So here's the URL. It is smartcalling.training. And I have it written down here, speaking business. So I did this for you. Smartcalling.training, speaking business. And
Fantastic.
then you'll simply enter in your information, and the video and the template will pop up there on the screen, and you can have your own great opening and voicemail within however long it takes you to go through it, 30 minutes.
Fantastic. And I've actually got that, and it's excellent. And I've also been listening to your podcast, The Art of Sales. I mean, what a wonderful name to use your name, and it is an art. So please all listen to Art's podcast too, because there's every every episode is a masterclass. It's really excellent. Thank you. I
Thank
hope
you.
you've enjoyed yourself. Thank you for getting out of bed very early for me today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed yourself.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and would love to do it again.
Wonderful. Well, listen, thank you all for listening to Speaking Business Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave a rating on Apple Podcasts. Tell your friends, share it. Until next time, I've been accompanied by Art Sobczak, and I am Maria Franzoni. Bye bye for now.